Hey everyone, I hope you're well. I wanted to come on and do a quick scope and a quick lesson on the theme making adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and get rolling. So when people join us, they could just catch it by replay, or they can catch it on YouTube if I upload it there. Hey, so I'm riding to work one day, and the Lord is talking to me about making adjustments. I'm just kind of reflecting, and I often reflect, and I'm just kind of riding to work, and I'm sharing with the Lord, hey, God, I really want to make an impact in the earth. I'm not trying to be impressive, but I am trying to make an impression, a mark that is not easily erased. And I think that when you are living on purpose, with purpose, and by purpose, you reflect often. And as I'm riding to work, I heard the Lord tell me that, Nelson, you need to make some adjustments. And I asked him, I said, well, God, what does that mean? And he was sharing with me about making adjustments, that even with friendships, with relationships, with working environments, with marriages, with parenting, with mentoring, with neighborhoods, with any kind of interaction you have to be willing to make adjustments. Successful people make adjustments. They don't make excuses. They make adjustments. They're willing to do what others won't do so that they can have what others won't have. And so I want to share with you what the Lord shared with me about making adjustments. He shared with me three basic lessons, I believe. The first one is that if you're going to make adjustments, you have to accept some things. There are some things you have to accept. So that's the first point with making adjustments. Accept some things. There are some things that you have to accept about yourself, that they might not change, and you have to be willing to accept that. With that in mind, there are some things about others that you have to accept because they might not change. And in order to be successful and not have an eternal standoff, you have to be willing hey, Brittany, you have to be willing to make some adjustments and accept the things that the people as they are, and accept some things about yourself, because we all have two versions of ourselves. We have the wonderful self, and then we have our real self. And so it is that you have to accept some things. I'm reminded of the serenity prayer, and one of the lines in the prayer, and I paraphrase, but it was the line that said, Lord, please help us to accept the things that we cannot change. There are some things that we can change, but there are some things that we cannot. And you have to be willing to accept that, because if not, you will exhaust and exert energy on things that will never have a return on investment. And whatever you do, whether it's with a friendship, a relationship, whether you are shopping, whether it is with work, whether it is with travel, or whatever the nature of the situation might be, you want to make sure that if you're going to take the risk of investment, you want to make sure you have a return on investment, and the maximum return on investment. So God is talking to me as I'm driving in the car, and he said, Nelson, you have to make some adjustments, that you have to be willing to accept some things. The next thing he told me is that you have to reject some things. There are some thoughts, some people, some relationships that you really have to reject because they no longer serve their purpose. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you're being rude. It doesn't mean that you're being mean. It means that you have a sense of urgency, that you're going somewhere and you don't want to spend all your time getting there, but you want to enjoy being there. I just said something. I think I'll say it again. You're too far along in life that you don't want to spend all of your time getting there, but you want to enjoy your time being there. And in order to do that, there are some people, some things, some ideas, some actions that we are just going to have to reject in our lives. We need the courage to be able to reject those things. So God told me three things while I was driving. The first thing he told me is that there are some things, Nelson, you have to accept. The next thing he told me is that you have to reject. some things. And the last thing he told me was you have to discern all things. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that discernment is so key. Discernment means to be able to distinguish something based on their qualities or characteristics. The late Dr. Maya Angelou said, and I paraphrase, when people show you who they are the first time, believe them. And that could be good or not so good. So if people show you that they don't have your interests, your best interests at heart, believe them. But if people show you that they really are for you and they're pushing for you and they're rooting for you, they're cheering for you, they're praying for you, they're in it with you, believe them too. Sometimes because we have not accepted things and rejected things, we oftentimes don't do that because we've not properly discerned a thing, that we have the ability to know what's good and what's bad, what's hot and what's not. We haven't discerned those things. And the scripture says that if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God. He gives it liberally, which says to me then that God has a limitless supply of wisdom. And if we would just pull on his wisdom for our lives, the quality of our lives would be better. Hey, I'm always challenging myself and reflecting personally, professionally, and purposefully. Personally, I want to make sure that as long as I'm alive, if I live another 50 to 60 years, or if I die this weekend, I want to make sure that I've lived to make an impression and not be impressive. I am trying to make a mark in people's lives that will not be easily erased. I am trying to do that personally. So I'm trying to make sure that I make meaningful friendships and relationships with people, because that is key. As it relates professionally, I want to make sure that I'm doing something that is meaningful in life. It has been said, and I paraphrase, you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. You got to make sure that you're not just a getter, but you are a giver, because you make a living by what you get, but you make a life by what you give. And then purposefully, it is my desire, even as a pastor of a church, even as a life coach and as a motivational speaker and as a success strategist, I want to help improve the quality of people's lives. I want to make sure, though, for me, that I live full and die empty. And I want to help every other person that I can do the same. You want to live for a sense and in a sense of fulfillment, not just drudgery. And I have to get up today and go through it again today. And oh my God, and they're getting on my nerves. But whether things go right or not, whether things go your way or not, just know that somebody always is not only a little better off than you, but there are some people who are way worse than you. And with that in mind, if you make adjustments and accept some things, reject some things, and discern all things, the quality of your life will improve. Until the next time, continue to walk by faith and not by sight, and make those adjustments for an improved quality of life. Be blessed.